Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and today we are assembling the Nexus core box for the Explorer Society faction. Bit of an odd box, just with its contents, slightly different than your normal core box. We've got Nexus here, as well as 2 Shambling Nests, which is these things on the side, and 5 eyes and ears, which there are 2 of them right here. That's our artwork. Here is our renders, as I noted before. No henchman or enforcer. Anyways, let's look at the sprues. The sprues for the box. Quite a bit of stuff here. Here's our Shambling Nests, the totems, and then this are all 5 of our eyes and ears. But Nexus is a lot of bits, like 19, I think. And we're going to start with her, so easily the most difficult model, I think. We got to do it. This is a wide sprue. But I believe we can add both halves of the torso first, and then I think we'll work on the front of the model first, which will include some number of legs. I think these 2, as well as at least things that look like arms, and the paired legs as well. And at some point we will need to include the hands, which technically connect to the back bit. So obviously that order could definitely change. Once we're done with the front of the model, we'll work on the back, which includes this sort of head thing piece. And then the head will go in there somewhere alongside that, either first or after. And then these 6 legs are just going to jam into the back here in some order, which I'll have to figure out. But we can start with the easiest stuff at least first. Let's grab F11 and an F12 and combine them. Start with F12 the back, and F11 the front. Okay, I think we're going to work our way from the bottom to the top until I realize that I can't do it that way for some reason or another. So F13 is going to be our bottom pair of legs here, the one with the shorter squatter connection point. Went in easy enough, and they're arachnid legs, so the little ends are going to be pointing down. Same with all the other options we'll have later on in the model. But let's go to F14, which is going to be put right in there in roughly the same way as F13. Okay, another easy one to go in. Next we'll be doing E19, which is another insect leg. And that's going to go right up in that hole. That wasn't too difficult to add in either. So far these have been pretty easy bits. Do remind to push down on it once you get it in there with your poke stick, just to make sure it's nice and in as far as it'll go. E18 is going to be our other insectoid leg, and we'll go in that hole. Okay, this one you got to make sure that it fits inside of this leg, not over the outside of it. But that should be obvious if you, again, push down on it with your poke stick once you get it glued in there. Now let's do the hands that are on these sort of stumps on the side here. So F9 is going to be our right hand, and F10 is going to be our left. Yeah, this one would have been a lot harder if not for a decent pair of tweezers, because it's just got to sit inside of this leg, and also there's no real good tooth connection to make it like set in properly. You just got to kind of hold it there and then nudge it around once it's slightly attached. A good thing to do though is to look at it from the back and make sure the forearm isn't offset to one side or the other, and that's how you know that's in there pretty good, if not 100% accurate. Now let's do the other arm, F10. Okay, yeah, again, really needed the tweezers to make that go in well. I recommend not doing the top insectoid legs before these. Do these guys first, and then these ones. Although putting those in is also going to have a difficult time not knocking these ones out of place. So there's difficulty both ways, but I think doing these arms first is probably the better way to go about it. So let's do the last pair of humanoid arms. We got upper right and upper left, and that is E17 and then F7. Yeah. Okay, there's E17, went in pretty easily. I just realized that the bit labeling just shifts over from F to E for the last 4 bits, which is odd. But, anyways, F7 is our left arm. Okay, tweezers, again, get it to really shift into place and make that seam considerably less noticeable. A lot easier to do with those than with your bare fingers, so... Yeah, another promotion for tweezers, alright? Okay, let's move on to... Let's do our head and then do the buggy abdomen hair piece after that. So let's stack F8 up top here where heads normally go. Oh, that's actually a real solid connection. Alright. Okay, next up we're going to combine F15 and E16, which is the two halves of the abdomen that go on her back. Between her shoulders, if she has shoulders. They have shoulders. They are combined. And yeah, this is not going to attach to the head at all, like I initially thought it might have. My bad. But our connection point to the shoulder blades is right there. Oh, and 1, and 2. I'm not entirely sure if it being almost exactly up and down is exactly how they want it. Compare it to the render. I just wiggled the thing around until it got to a spot that I was comfortable with, like twisting it back and forth like that. Do what you want. I think this is just perfectly fine, so I'm going to leave it as is. Now we can get on to all the tiny little legs. Okay, I'm relatively certain I've got the order down just by looking at the instructions. So left to right as we're staring at her backside is going to be F2 and then F5, F1, F6, F3, and then the one on our farthest left, F4. Again, this is looking at her from the back, so our very first leg, F2, is going to go right there. This is kind of a best guess situation because you can't really see it on the full render, but this is roughly the angle I see on the instructions, so we're going to go with this one. I really just check the seam down here, and if it's flush up against the backside of the model, we'll call it good. So now let's do, oh geez, what was that one? F5. Right, there's F5. I believe this one is actually supposed to be on touching the ground. I think it's every other one is touching the ground, so use that as a point of reference. But again, check the seam underneath and you should be good. Also, I would think it was probably going to be, you know, up and down as perpendicular to the ground as you probably can make it. Alright, let's grab F3. Sorry, I'm dumb. F1. This one might be the most solid connection yet, but it's a good thing. So, looks good to me. Now, let's do F6 next. I'm not entirely sure if this is actually supposed to be sitting on the ground or not. It's very close, but not quite there for me. Your finagling might come up with a different result. But again, we're just going for as perpendicular to the ground as possible with this one. Now, second to last, F3, going right there. This one I had to keep rotating until it was sort of off the ground. I accidentally set it further where it almost was touching the ground. But yeah, this is closer to how it's supposed to be. Check the render again. That has sort of the correct angle you're looking for. But yeah, this went in pretty solidly when I finally rotated up higher. Okay, last one, F4, and then we're done. Not too bad once you get it going perpendicular and little toesy is on the ground, claw, whatever. But let's not mess with it too much. It looks good from the back. We're going to call her done. Nexus is done. They were a pain. The majority of the pain being the little tiny legs on the back, but also just trying to fit limbs in between limbs on the front too. It's overall fairly difficult build. Nothing too impossible to fit anywhere. And no super duper tiny bits, but just a constant stream of slightly difficult assembly. But you can do it. I believe in you. And she looks pretty good. When she's all done. They're all done. Right, let's move on to easier models. Shambling Nest. Our Shambling Nest has slightly fewer pieces than Nexus, thankfully. We'll start with the first one and then the second one. So for this guy, go ahead and combine the 2 halves of the base, then add this extra bit that goes on top, finished by adding the 2 halves of the deer head together and then putting that up here. Got it? Okay, so let's grab C1 and C3 and put those together. C1 and C3 goes together fine and easy. Now let's add the last bit of the nest, C2. I'm just going to go in this big hole in the bottom. And the whole base is done now. Hooray. Let's look at the whole thing. Might be able to fill in that gap just a little bit better. But anyways, now let's combine C4 and C5, and then we'll put it up here. 2 halves of a deer head make 1 whole deer head. Okay. Put on the rest of the model. Hey, 1 whole Shambling Nest. It's so nice to look at. Let's put on a base. Shambling Nest number 1 is done. We're gonna call it Wren. Really no difficult part. Very simple. I guess the hardest part would be the deer head, just because they're the smallest bits, but that was really easy. And I think we're just going to continue with that ease for the rest of the box. Move on to the next one. Second Shambling Nest is even simpler. We'll combine the 2 sort of inner halves, and then we'll add this sort of animal skull thing onto this half. You can see jaws that it'll complete, and then the swirly nasty bit onto this bit. So we will combine the B3 and B2 first. First B3 and B2. Now we'll just put B4 on top of this. Now the side's complete, and we'll just add B1 on here and call them done. Oh, those are legs. That's gross. Okay, we're all done. Base them. Shambling Nest number 2 is done. We're gonna call this one Stimpy. I'm in a 90s mood. Fight me. No hard parts. Heck, even easier than the last one. You really can't say any sort of difficulty. It's real gross, though. Let's go to the eyes and ears, shall we? Okay, eyes and ears. 5 models, but 5 pretty darn simple models. So we'll go and just start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line. So we'll start with this one first. It's only 3 bits. Take A3, add A2 the arm, and then do A1 the box, which he's standing on. Okay, start with A3 and A2 the left arm. There we go. Has a nice tooth on there, so very solid connection. Now we'll add A1 the box, which you can see here. This is the angle we're going for. The bigger hole is going to be your right foot. There, as you can see, the connection point is bigger than on her left foot. So, looking at that. Okay, first one's done. Plenty more to go, though. Base him. Eyes and ears number 1 is done. We're going to call her Trini. I guess the hardest part is fitting the feet on the box. It's real easy build. Can't be too difficult with 3 bits, but it looks pretty good. Yeah, let's just move on. Second one's gonna have twice as many bits. Probably still not gonna be too hard though. Grab B5 and then add B1, the left leg, followed by whatever this is on her lower back. And we'll go ahead and do the right arm B2, which is holding the meat. Left arm B4, which is holding the baseball bat, and then put her on B3, which is another box. Alright, we'll grab B5. Alright, now add B1, the left leg. Just fine. Now B6, they look like rope. I thought they were going to go across her lower back. Actually, it's across the shoulders right here. Maybe they're just long hot dogs or something. I don't know. Okay. Focus. Right arm B2 is next. Holding the giant ham, I think. Okay, this one has another connection point on the ham, like right along her knee. You can kind of see it there. Let's make sure to cement it there as well. Now, B4, the left arm, goes into left arm socket if the camera will focus on it. There we go. Alright, there's a left arm. It took a little bit of force to get it to squish in there between the rope or sausage or whatever and the back for head. Otherwise, I'd probably say do the rope after this bit. I probably should have figured that out, but I was just so set on it going on the lower back once I realized that it wasn't supposed to go there. I didn't think about proper order of assembly, but that's what it looks like. And again, it wasn't too hard for me to pop it in there, so I think you can do that. Let's put her on a box. Color done. Actually, I don't see a connection point on that box. It could very well be just freestanding like some things do on bases. So that's actually, I'm going to base. I'm just going to put her in the box on a base. I went off the render and it's standing behind her. And again, with the side, because this is the side that's supposed to be up against the back of her boots, there's no connection point here. And if you look at the back of her feet, there's nothing to connect to there. So I think it really just does sit independently. Okay, base her. Eyes and ears number 2 is done. We're going to call her Kimberly. She's got the meat. I really like this model. Everyone else seems to be kind of generic townspeople, but this is the meat lady. She's got lots of meat. Yet the baseball bat on the back of her neck is hard if you put it on after the rope, but I would recommend not doing that like I did. Other than that, really easy. And then just figuring out that the box probably not actually attached to her in any way. Yeah, those are the hard parts. Next. Third eyes and ears. So only 4 bits. We've got the body. Then we'll do C3, the right arm. Then C1, the left hand. Followed by C2, the head. Alright. Okay, C4. C3, the right arm. Let's look in the back, check the seam. Okay, all good. Now, C1, the left hand. It's another one of those ones that you can rotate around and kind of get a good idea of where it's supposed to fit, but it's not going to be perfect. So, it looks good. Matches the render real close, so I'm going to call it good. Now let's end it with C2, the head. Totally a not suspicious looking fella. Alright, base him. He's done. Eyes and ears number 3 is done. We're going to call this one Zach. The left arm, just kind of a mildly weird connection point. That's not too solid. That's about it. That's really it. God, there's really nothing to say about these models. That's difficult for assembly. Let's do the last 2. Eyes and ears number 4. Super easy one again. Only 3 bits. Body. Excuse me, which is going to be D1. Then the right arm, which is going to be D2. And then the head, D3. Bodies first. Now I D2. And yet another odd connection where it's just not quite a good set. It will tell you that it's in the right spot. So you just got to check with the render again and match it up. Yeah, surprisingly enough, the sign is not like facing forward with him. It's off to the side. Okay, D3 the head. Look at the head. Easy to connect. Put him on a base. All done. Eyes and ears number 4 is done. This one's getting called Billy. Yeah. The sign, figuring out how the sign is supposed to angle is probably the hardest part. And that's it. Again, just not a lot to say. Let's finish this up, shall we? On to our last eyes and ears. We'll grab the body, E1, and then we'll add the right arm, E4, the left arm, E2, and then E3, the head. On the body. E4, the right arm, note it connects at the elbow and also on the chest where this suspender is. Okay, now let's do E2, the left arm. Another strong connection. I like these ones. Okay. E3 the head. We're all done. And he's all done. Put him on a base. Eyes and ears number 5 is done. I'm going to call this one Jason. Literally no hard parts. Nothing. Yeah, just super duper easy. It looks like I didn't connect that elbow as well as I could. So we'll say that elbow. The right arm. Yeah, that's the hard part. Let's look at the whole box. The Nexus core box is done. We have Nexus 2 Shambling Nests, and 5 eyes and ears. I think you could probably tell what the most difficult thing in the box was. It's Nexus. Far and above anything else. The Shambling Nest were easy, the eyes and ears were pretty easy. It's just Nexus with all the little tiny legs just causing problems. The nice thing is that's it for difficulty, and it wasn't the hardest thing, so just be careful with all your tiny legs and your tiny limbs. You should be good. But I think that's all I've got to say. Enjoy playing your buggy boys. I'm not gonna play this, definitely. This is my wife's box. Anyways, I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Have a good night.